Islands lie off the southwest coast of Ireland, at the extremity of the peninsula of Corcorina, County Kerry. These islands are the most westerly in Europe. The water around them is deep, the bottom uneven, with sudden transitions from deep to comparatively shallow water, and the tidal streams are strong. This is the village as it was in its heyday. It nurtured three important writers. They wrote three remarkable books. Thomas Kirchen, born on the island around the year 1856, wrote his autobiography on Tulanach, the Islandman, the most important of the island's books. Thomas died in 1937. Mauricio Sullivan, born in 1904. His book Fihiblian a Farce, 20 Years of Growing, achieved worldwide circulation in various translations. Mauricio Sullivan died in 1950. Peg Sayers was born in 1873 on the mainland. Peg married into the island. Her autobiography, Peg, covers life on the mainland and the island. Peg died in 1958. Below the village lies Oileán, the island landing place, a small breakwater and slip, adequate for the purposes of today's visit by the exile islandmen, their relatives and friends from the mainland at Dunhuin. The Nevoga, the canoes, are weighed only with their crews. When the island was inhabited, the Nevoga would enter the collar with their gunnels leveled with the water under the weight of fish, lobster pots, or perhaps animals. The loading and unloading process was a major task, and after a long day at sea, a tiresome one. The canoes would then be carried up the slip and rested on their perches or starchi. With a crew of at least 3 for each Nevogue, this scene gives an idea of what the sea-going population of the island was before the Second World War, sometime in the early 30s. The island subsisted on the sea harvest. 2 ingredients necessary for survival: fish and fishermen. Neither was to last.
Two of
the islandmen make their way along Boher Vunanvale. They look towards Antravon, where Oileán Nichols, friend of PHPS, drowned tragically. All movement of the island is from the sea up against the hill. It's something you begin to notice after a while. Sean Fatstam and Sean Oileán saw the final days of the island. Men gather from all directions at the top of the village after a visit to their homesteads. Finally, they come down from the hill over Lachawirish, crossing on Tocher, or the new road, and down through the remains of Bunanvale, past the house of Flint, whose son married Peg Sayers, and Sean O'Shea, who drowned off Inishin Bro. Here they stop looking over on Choloig, Gosan Yara, and Reen and Chishlan, towards the island strand on Travon, and out beyond Beginish to an road. Garod Chashtochahan, son of the island musician Sean Chasht, is the youngest of the group and the last child to leave the island. John Velodine Clay, a relative of Odine Clay, the island poet. Sean Oileán Eile, fisherman. His grandfather was the island king, Rí Oileán. Sean Fatstam O'Carna, fisherman. His father was one of those involved in the attempt to save Oileán Nichols and Cart Crihin from drowning. Seaneen Vickil O'Sullivan, fisherman and musician. His father was a boatwright. All of these men have been touched by immigration. Many of their brothers and sisters and their immediate relatives emigrated to Great Britain and the United States. This visit to the island gives them an opportunity to recall their life on the island. Here are the islands from Mom Clasach on the mainland at Dúnchin, the final view for many an islander on the long road to America. John Millington Singh, who visited the Blaskets in 1905, described the Great Blasket as an island which seemed to rise like a mountain straight out of the sea. The village on the east side of the island facing the mainland winds its way up towards the brow of the hill, tucked away now in a camouflage of desertion. The most discernible aspects of it are the remains of the Congested District Board's two-storied houses built in 1909. The only cultivated part of the island stretches away from the village to the right, as far as Traigari, facing in Balakkail, and right down to Antravon. Each of the fields has its own name: Gari Waffer, Gari Unri, Untrasnawn, Gortfada, Islanbawn, Fochrach an Lihig, Gortanard, Kaunagurt. The bottom of the village, that nearest Anchala, was known as Bunanvale, and the upper part of the village as Baravale. Robin Flower, the English scholar, described the village. The old houses huddled together on the broken hill slope over the cliffs, thrown down without system wherever a convenient site offered itself. The steep little tracks run hither and thither between them. Thomas Crihin gives an earlier picture. The chlocha agus the vorsteil cre e vich notation dienta. Agus gan mor chlachter elanacha, mar vich daulo agus lav gach eingenta. The house at the top of the village was that of Thomas Belvoir Owen O'Dinley. The house of Marin Scanlawn, Undoyle, where many of the younger people of the island gathered in the evenings for recreation, music, storytelling and song.
Kinds of cora.
Close by Undoyle was one of the village wells, Tubber and Funcain. Here was a gathering place for the islanders, particularly for the women. Thomas Crahin used this as a vantage point from time to time. Bunime machan Tubber. Mar raibh ná na stadaun ní lá go maidine. Bhí bachéadas fi hawn agus ní chealiste ce mead iad. Ach girún lei ag salmarach le na chéile. Coming up from Bunanville, Sean Foyle O'Cahain, fisherman, one of 10 children of Morris Vurish O'Cahain. Of the 3 who went to America, one still lives. Another lives in Wales, one other in Dublin, and the remainder in West Kerry. This dispersal is typical of the island families.
No quite that I give her much at the house, my husband and the little dog. Then you were cunning in it soon. How about there? Give you I don't take it. At the fair. And don't talk about eating is a new. Yeah, I have me in a host. If I share the had billion, Debian Stad, you know, for the sale. Ni feather lay with the sale. And then you can on the nine. We're going to be to come under our new name. There's no much on the mag force, I guess, because I'm fucking to it. No, get on the way, on the fish honey, Heinicabali Hillo, Tourtinese. If we did down cast, how America, how assassin. I know what you put it in my head. Valley Hillo, Mass. Yeah, I don't know big lady could reach him out to Clona.
Somewhat below the house of Foyle is that of Sean Vaik Lane O'Gahin. Sean Vaik Lane is a grandson of Padre O'Cahain known as Oileán, or King. The O'Gahini came from Inishikalan in tragic circumstances.
It's a son that wish. Near only Shakila on Hanisha, ni Hanisha. We have here Nishakila on. I guess we should post the damn the winter yarn. I guess Bahan is on Nishakila on. Baha Henry Stihali Shale. I guess Sarah the winter in there. Quite to the Soga is the bro, have Gastru and on Nishakila on. It is the yogurt. I guess the Lord Daddy. I guess Naka Jane Revo in it. Punt jag gick. Så ni lär göra vad inte det har varit. Man var inte dina så. Agas bi Bertnin agas berfak så jag här. Ach ni la marsche. Nu är sen så jag kan ju bara ha. Agas bi det for the sun de där bara post jag måste ju dala. Agas han är där så ni är sån. Agas bara tider in i Shakila det är där big budi shodala agas hanya dran son agas sayla ma harshitesh ku permite te dacht ni ronish senya mar bishanto son ali yedi shesu son for shining in the patsik you go di shoroyet very fat switchy ashini mo warche agas bi mu idana gonin son di kalakh ma haydin son kan ach dem jag stad jag vill säga att då en diagnos maskin då agas shin ogmo var det tror vi gick något från chel jag måste inte kalla mig agas idron sån spisen som gediga i matchen med mahla dia kaga tri såna tåg så där gick med agas alltså något vi till skol
This house was eventually Ireland holiday home for Robin Flower and his family. It was to the King's house, however, that Robin Flower first came. These are the remains of the King's house. Here also it was that John Millington Synge stayed on his visit to the Blaskets in September 1905. Synge was keenly observant about aspects of island life. He also brought his camera with him and has left a small series of valuable photographs, probably the first taken on the island. This is a picture of Henri taken above the village. A group of islanders outside the King's house. Henri is to the right of the picture, and to his right is his daughter, whom Synge described as his little hostess. Synge's notebook, written in the Blaskets in 1905, described his little hostess as small, beautifully formed woman, with brown hair and eyes that are usually found with this type in Ireland, and delicate feet and ankles that are not common in these parts, where the women's work is so hard. Synge scholars have identified the little hostess as the prototype for Peggy and Mike in the Playboy. Synge wrote a poem on the King's daughter. You've plucked a curlew, drawn a hen, washed the shirts of 7 men. You've stuffed my pillow, stretched the sheet, and filled the pan to wash your feet. I told them I was sleepy and ready to go to bed. So the little hostess lighted the candle, carried it into the room beyond the kitchen, and stuck it up at the end of one of the beds with a few drops of grease. Then she took off her apron and fastened it up on the window as a blind, laid another apron on the wet earthen floor for me to stand on, and left me to myself. Some of the islanders, and particularly the King's family, did not like the references which Synge made to the living conditions which he observed. Synge himself was not by any means complaining, rather reporting with a sympathetic eye.
Bhí man tíine sin agus antín cheanfatstem, as bhí iadach bras achtarúsach agus ar na leanna bhí leanna garach le began na líbíide, agus bhí sídanta suas anna gas, agus bhí na fervan, as mo dahi rí, agus bhí iadach brara, agus níatach a tígi bheith ó hainis, agus lig séad. Mar dúirt sé ro daile, dúirt sé líine chu téga, scilich bagúntís agus na fiaríochta, an mech téige. Yn ffarfyd ys dach o gwnchyn. Nach diarfag bebe chas er. Sy'n ei nws fys yn lan. Gyn tîn, ni diarfag ffac mech te na facigat. Ach a te gana bys y bia gana bys y gwrdd yn yw goch. Ach, ni hwg mw fawr, ni dwt sy'n arfe meid y sgrif se gart. Agus sy'n ei dwt sy'n ymsag. Na rodd i'n eich yn mach se sys. Ach gyda fi eisiau.
The house of Miahal Kwani or Cahan, next to the house of Tom O'Carna, and then the island schoolhouse. Thomas Crihin and his companion the King were at school there from about 1866. It was very difficult to get teachers to come to the island, and more difficult to get them to stay. Maureen, Liam Martin and Thomas O'Carna, Oileán Eile and Maureen Eile were the only pupils on the school roll in the early winter of 1941. The school was closed that Christmas under the direction of the Department of Education. The beginning of the end.
Harlín, gus bhí gábún túiriti. Tomás o Savoin, o North Carib agus Chalín Ellenson o Flúirte fún Trawa. Agus bhíh bíarga, sais bíarga a bhúni gesin Tamalín, ach gaigan is múvíge gan daút. Ach hugsun Tamamandan a hegan, ach ní múar a vísa fenna gáf sín, mar a vís róg. Ach na ige mixan an tes chuig mlíanana díag aning múntóid eile timppó túrálí roiist pádraigh mar cearalta bethe. Díag anna múntóide bethe ar ó gáide. Ní raibh pín sin ngéireann ige sinna diggin tú. Mar ní bhhaléis bhí múna na gaiireann dún escoil mar dúirte gur bhar nóhan gaiireannigin. A san rud a smúga sé bhúna ná bíarán. Mar dydy sé diggin tú. Na raibh míist har lear 90 días na chuis míist enw cael gaiireann. Agus go mé míist ar na madáin mar a meach focalégid bhíaragin. Agus gan sé blian ghuiile. Ní dólim go gan ein leanna bhí dochar scoil lena lín go gan ar ystigi an rá scoil. Mar y dawnt yn fwni fi sé gynnar fi'ch mwran ca hawain sydd i gilydd. Fy sé mas o iard sy'n ei gymryd li ar hwydys. Fi sé ar yn rylael tîmpo. Fi wan tes gulli, fi mystig i mach na hwntyd fwyd y wali. Ac ben trwy'n agan swn. Ac wali sy'n les tes blian gulli. Mwyn tywyd e le hain yn sy'n mwyn tywyd e heban. Tas i gys na chainin. Fa fetw pleile am nach mach i gyd. As y defydd yr pien i feddrys. Bara i dis gransi. Ach, ses Cris, dyn yn narda, fi mwyd i pleilo, sy pleilo gwmni. Nw gana mwyd i stiu osgyl, sy dyn i fwy. Nw ar sy'n, o lat, na fi fam wedi dyn, na bych eich a hafa un ffyrir gynnu so, gymi mi steilt yma hwn sy'n eich ffad. Ni rawmyd. Agus, sy'n roedd fi chyrnu, sa fi'ch trwyg yn rwm o fi gasmw, cadw'n cael ein ffyrir fi'ch agos na roedd i bo.
Schooling on the island was a preparation for immigration. It had to be so. The economics of a small island community required that most would leave it for America. Fishing in small boats and a meager produce from the island were cause and effect. The role of the school teachers was to prepare the island pupils for the long road. One of the last teachers on the island described the task. An aber bechrúar scoil na múnan víorla. Níor bhailm ligintas na scalari an scoile agant gan ólas crísach mahar an mírla. Higus gamach cad a bhín andóibh. Agus ní scialta finíochtan ar a dí mar sin ar scoile dhéanach an chorchan cíndóibh. Fiúbhain mar a chuadar saulg America. Just below Bohervan lies a row of 3 houses. Those of Sean O'Dean Clay, the White House, Sean Vihilo Carna, Achawan, and the house of Paudine Tomaso Carna, the son of an Chalach Vialdarish. Behind them is the house of Thomas Donald Crihan, the islandman. This he built about 1888, 10 years after his marriage. This is a rare piece of archival film shot sometime in the 1940s. The well-known Cruiger Kavanagh accompanied the cameraman into the island. Here Cruiger is seen dancing a Kerry set with an island girl outside the Crihan house. The wind vane, to provide power for the island's radio telephone located in the island post office. The radio telephone link was installed in 1941. The very year the island school was closed. Family homes were already falling into disuse. The O'Sullivan house, a stable. The island sheep, which provided the basic meat diet. An old woman drives a red cow to pasture. These years, the war years, were to see the final running down of the island community. Turf had to be won. The island was cold in Atlantic winters. A job for women and the younger men and boys. The turf was harvested here at Anfark Garav at the southern side of the island. and as far as Slievarandach Lawn and Tuandoon at the western side. Some of the place names here indicate extensive cultivation in former times during the period from 1830 to 1860, when the population was augmented by those fleeing from famine and from land problems. Gari and Cherke, on Fark Wien, Boltan, Park and Yatta. All of the island writers describe trips made by them and others to south and west of the island, almost in a way which indicated an escape from the claustrophobia of the village atmosphere. Here it was that Thomas Scrihin met the poet Odin Clay, that Murish O'Sullivan met George Thompson. Here also the islanders courted.
Na hen dyni, na wog, na hen yn syndon, gost o ffwti. Na wog o fi chael ystotio, jyst i rwy'n o'r ddeini, motyn o psem i hen dangan, wrth chael on o'r ddeini, wa'n chytio na wog o ystotio. Na wog, i'r ring machta i bert. A bod i bert i gyd i cwrs, cyd i cydwch sy'n agos yn bro, gach o wad yn hen i hi, cyd i cydwch yn ystwysgart. So i gawn dwb, cyd i gawn dwb wyt i hi. Dwi'n eistedd hier i Maesius. Mae'n siarad ffilist. Ffilist, o'r ym. Vi har fått historien som heter sån. Fått historien det är hisset av hade sån. Fått det de har bort. Sagt nog så sen just hennes. Vi vill ju glömma vad det står. Makrel så vår. Sjöslan, ni störskert. Kan det gå det vi sin störskert. Kjøringen er som bra. Nini skikilan, skiten teracht. Fra tauriger fad. Ja. Gjerne fått litt om målet dårlig til å gi makkedom skien. For vi skal ikke skjere og dusje, det kan to lage mye kneim som vi ser og som lien. Det er bra, jeg setter noe gjerne bad i makt, når jeg er en lan. Jeg får tra jeg var en kjere, og setter når jeg våger til rande for tid og kunne stusker. Hatt du skjedd en lan, så har jeg natt. Hei. Og når skjer det med de når jeg tran henne. Jeg vet faktisk ikke, men jeg vet ikke her i noen. Han blir gjerne godt når jeg våger morgen tromme. Den andre står ikke. Små stående øsket, sånn til ene siden av den nyeste øsket. Så var han. Brak bra. Jeg kan ikke make det lakk. Jeg sa ikke det gjerne gående inn til øy. Fordi man stående var han i et minnes make det sånn fyllig. Og så det blir jeg så alles. Jeg får det veien til noe. Jeg sa. Sånn så vår, makrel, råden i, så at det kaller råd. Kjem på noen sånne som stakker de gjerne gjerne Norge. Takk om han vøylet til det. Det er bare litt fakker. Da har jeg skal bare modbeden og stakker kjent ingen leid. 10 ville vakre, råbig for hadde. Takk til alle rysene, så står jeg jesker. Det var mye til makt. På 10 måneder tromme, det kunne jeg ha fått 10. Det er 4 dyske. Og de har kort for rundt. Men jeg kan ikke være kjønne, kan faktisk skal være her, men så er det ikke snart skolen. Jeg var kjønne når tikken til grafisk igjen. Det var vi mist. Kjørste til oss, så var vi det. La meg ikke grafisk. For det blir ikke kilo en grafisk. Vi mist gjennom kjærten seg i skåen. Snursen.
Men jeg mist sa så, at det kan jeg så det kan. Men det er sånn jeg når makreden så bor så hun. Jeg vil ikke gjøre noe sinne og, men jeg visste han har så vidt fadda sånn. Hadde når jeg ikke visste noe ned, trådes bare vanlige ned, det er sånn bare gjør noe nysen. Fyser det noen linnende sånn, jeg er ikke sterkt til rande vekk det, og jeg er ikke sterkt til å våge, synes. Jeg visste, jeg børte ikke. Han er færre ikke, jeg visste bare til masse slag og masse grav gjort.
Jeg visste ikke til den regning, den vil vi ha rar. Noen til stedet, jeg må svege, jeg vil det gjerne hele dagen. Det er sånn for litt som grafsjonen, så er det ikke gøttere grovord. Det er ikke faen ikke noe som gjør snykker. Det er en dag, og han går bare. Og får jeg tilbake nå med lintik. Det er ferdig, jeg skjønner rakt rar, jeg skjønner om vi har tatt tarak. Ferdig raten, jeg skjønner rar viner til næs. Ferdig snemmer vi mye kunne si det. Da har jeg jo tydelig, det er ferdig sånn. Vi går om siden. Det er ferdig sånn, da har jeg vært så over det ikke. Han skjer rårt, da har jeg høyde inn. Det er mye klatre alene. Og vi får av den igjen, og det er bra. Han tar så sånn dine her, og så sier det vinter. Må høre med din. Yeah, when music Oileán Eile.
Shawnee and Vickles' father was a boatwright and carpenter, skills essential in an isolated island. Boats, the Naivóga, had to be repaired, recovered. The sea claimed its share. Men drowned in pursuit of their livelihood. Tom Daly na Hinisha recalls the death of Sean O'Shea. He was fishing with Tom Daly's father, Paddy Varus, off Inishnabrô. They were the sons of two sisters.
Here, clown better to fair about Hennes Arbor. Agus sé de farasti si vis an dá riowa. Sean Shannon in the agus hoig better to hear while the fataí. Fanny all the queuing was stood ready to bunty a scan for 10 minutes of program for him if I had to wait. Hoig my bunty a scan was fi Sean for no use that room just like go back. Then my Russian booze. Booze. Agus na house I can get a booze. Agus na hook sé young baby nari had gal. Showing gal. Agus na ini show hon. Na walk to be a who agus Sean table there. Agus all what this words was good so it can sound with you. You might have kind of near a high whom quite second a wheel. That's again real. Agus Castachan I walk. We shall get a near say tin in the brow. We shall fight it. And he had started it, but say him way in your own together into a certain round changing to success. As we shall go the Unupush be an order. Ach, we hear one the city. As hack walk here and will slank Marseille. Walk shiny to the some bully book. I remember we shall throw, we shall count schemahasti. We hear guys, he made a dollar yesterday. I guess you can't take my day. I guess who said this bees and something by Delhi. You may find the bees being took, who said niche. Her says we will see. I guess he may say since said tinny. I guess he's around on then being fast TV here, we can't TV. Look, if around on here in tinny. I guess no send the cat team for the dinner. I said was 7 miles, I was 2 check out tinny. This is Paddy, Dognors and sticks and all of into. I was to check a bit of my head, you know, I was such a hand in the Malay. I was too far in Steelers. Couldn't forget a station again, or Mahaka had the wood. Only near Anis near Radusha. Ah, Anis do say, we shall cut a team for dinner. The bed Paddy had a hike. Mar Farbia could be shower of the into Tarbo. Well, you know, I walk here a more. I buy your annual holiday. Shut him on work on a wahi. I guess now what to ski on the way in a mother who was motherless shower and it's motherless any. I guess I think mother Johnny go. I will not have a decent control who you have other motherless shower and it's a shower again. Wasn't she go? We said, shut him work on a wa. You against the world, don't know any. I guess in Balaga go in the age. Farmer got a father bear. Ah, you would have real in the carbo. That's the good night if I win to say, go show. Eh? Go show it. Era quality to say.
The islanders lived a frugal enough life. Their basic diet derived from the sea. Potatoes augmented with a small selection of vegetables grown on the island fields. Harvesting their small crop was not a prolonged operation. Getting in additional food supplies from the mainland was another task. That and moving in and out of the island of their stock in the Naivóga.
Ní mór na prátaíoch agus. Ní raibh. Bud a cá a bud chruig bó dymach. Sna bhó, ví sna nach chun túrach. Bhí sír ó rhaús, bhí chána bhó na nach da gúna í. Indi sé bheart. O, hana jabbar. Chafin bhó sís idir slip, por gí slip. Agus múrán síar a bheith lech catlé marsa agus í legan sun. Agus í hangop. Agus anna jabbar í christachna bhó. Anna jabbar fad, ró rhaú. Ach, bhíoch na bhó gwyl, sy'n allan na bhó na bó, ag ag ag ag ag ag na bhó na bó. Nemar gym tia. I marawa. Sy'n ddiana waraw'n sun.
There was nothing distinctive about the island men's dress except its poverty. The island women, on the other hand, wore a very distinctive dress upon marriage. The shawl, the apron crossover, and the long skirt identified the status of the married woman. Much of the burden of the island work was carried by the women. They cooked, spun yarn, sewed, mended clothes, reared children, sanded the floors, managed the kitchen, and watched anxiously for their menfolk to return from the sea. The birth rate was high. Being remote without nurses, priests, or doctors, the women looked to their neighbors skilled in such matters.
Mar níos gan láinúachtaí sé, ar muir sí sin leis. Ach cinech méíonn san bhí sé chum bheith banarla, go méíonn lena bhfuil saoach, agus chanach sí tamach don go dtí tránhúna bhéidir, reich sí bhaile, agus sí níos go an talún san raíist. Agus hagach ben an gúrs stechan sanas, níor sin lenabas, níor sí a chairad runna seachtainna don men bhíh sa leba.
But life had its lighter moments. Music and dancing were important elements in the island culture. As with other skills, the islanders made many of their own instruments.
Seach miliana vít as an is a bélín a gógan. Agus bhí anna gúla go muinte, agus cinna mu héin teann. Agus bhí sí mag leabhar, ach bhí gáhan in mal an uairsin, agus bhí ní géiste tóáin agus sucin na porsútha, agus bhfuil in bhéilíní bhí go mhain na port féintú. Bhí ní géiste tóáin na port, agus chuin in bhéilíní bhí go mhaine. Agus blion marsin, tócha agus bhín héasta teomar na hánaine, agus bóchta an orsa gom agus chuna gasta gom, agus den mhain amach sé tíine go mórsate, bhí mag leabhar, sy'n tag at harm pwep, go mag ysbryd, sy'n ar y bwm.
Bích ahi mu chéile ystí agus cháiseach an a bróg agus bydach sé bhéilín. Teist an gnúc agus sé mynd leis, ys gan ariach a gastach co. Éhhat gen dini sé mynd. Agus fi sian, chan sé mynd leis fi a wat er bhéilín hé mynd.
Peg Sayre's house lies well up the hill and to the back of the village, one of those built by the Congested District Board in 1909. Her house was a favourite rendezvous for the young of the island. Dancing and music gave the young people an opportunity of meeting in convivial surroundings. Sheila and Patrick Flower, son and daughter of Robin Flower, spent a number of holidays with their father on the island.
Well, the dancing was very often held in Peg's house. She was very hospitable in that way. And it was, of course, dark. One went to this... I wonder why it was dark. It was summer, wasn't it? But it was. It always seemed to be dark.
Feeling of dark, yes.
And the room would be lit by a turf fire and an oil lamp and the little tiny red lamp before the holy picture, which was a feature of every kitchen. And the room would be very full of people. There were people sitting all the way up the stairs and people sitting on the table and the boys on one side of the room and the girls on the other. And quite a lot of the boys would be crouching on their haunches. There was no... They didn't have much furniture. They had a dresser and a table and perhaps two or three chairs. And so when there was a crowd, there was not room for everybody to sit down. And there was quite a feeling of an assembly because There was this formality of the boys on one side and the girls on the other. And before the music started, the boy would come up and ask the girl of his choice to dance, and she must answer yes or no. And so then the music would start, and it was very, very lively dancing, reels and sets, and then when the music stopped, everybody, boys and girls, retreated to their side of the room. And that was it. How late it went on, I just don't know. But then there came the journey home, when it was totally dark. I mean, it was very dark. There was no artificial lighting. No street lighting, of course. But the girls used to escort us home because the boys were diving to get a kiss from us. And we thought this was terrific at the age of 14 or 15. And we used to prolong this journey home a bit, probably. And finally we arrived safely home, and this howling mob of boys would be outside the window, waving through the window and blowing kisses to us. And so a dance was a very exciting thing in those days.
The village strand and Travaun was a football and hurling pitch. Thomas Crihan played hurling here with his two uncles Diarmid and Thomas one Christmas day. Viach Bert Berthe, Faron Dave and a Ra Meyer Maridirfa. Viach Akra Ferrachas Sana Hogant, no Gamich and Drag Reinte Chile. Kamaan agus Lirode Viach Aun and Werschen. Is an Drag Vana Viach and Boiracha, gan Stucka na Brog. Mach gomeneel een wore hegen Lirode dan Arge. Fa ga la diag na nalag ni viak sé gomas een irsan alan a vo vagat kon chnikle tinnis drumme agus tinnis knav. Cos gov Bert, ferelle lachas go count me. The days of 30 young men fielding a hurling team on the Travaun were coming to a close. This is a photograph of the island village taken sometime in the 1930s. The fold in the center is due to the fact that it was carried in the wallet of a Blasket Islander right up to the time of his death. Morrison Funchain left the island in 1925 and spent the rest of his life in Springfield, Massachusetts. He died in 1981.
Dina, Alini. Ach, wie stadium mean to the fish, a cow legs and nothing in the stock and Kurtua flesh. So, in the Gravani miraculous, there's another soul and the Oscar miracle, Diana, Taracogo. I leave the lower to the vein to the knock. To Kupon I walk.
Gerard Chashto Kahan, son of an island musician Sean Chasht and Breed Varasvurish, spent his early childhood in this house at the top of Boreen and Tivine. The island population had been reduced to some 30 people when he was growing up.
Rogach mission saw Nedig Data Shacht. Agus even gone is a tick shot at Fag Sham Diana, digging that cheese a Macadon clean. Be sail Kuhn, Waginachastach and so. Many are more on the now on. Typ red jag in heter fader vi on när det visar. Ach, vi har smoka krina. Vi däka med nästa. Jag som den bågar står av veden lan. Med hena bunker. Jag ser bragen så för det taurig. Jag står en cherry tachta och i vraha så runt krin. Jag stannar dig så för det smoka. Runda blena. Jag kunde det katin på en sån nådag. Jag skulle det en sån kaska. Så his som hon var vi som khani. Agus vi vet så tyckte nach mer på var här. Mer krina, på var krina. Hela väg. En där var en kaf med henne. Det första man sa ta tigi hulvan. Agus rastir ta tig Nadal. Thomas, agus Paddy, agus Shanna Feddy. Gathrána sa gírin ar bheith na híonanta fada, hen suascarí seání bhicil. Agus fermór ceola bheith seání, anna híimi gas a ceol. Agus bhí na gcónaí, bhíoch maic mar chamarádaigam, de háda ceánín, fer nach raibh mórán, mar raibh an pláinte go maige, riamh. So chaibh an tán goléir anna chéile. So tránaantí sa gíre, bhíoch seání na seintar bheidín, agus bhíoch maic agus mis sé géirteach leis, agus na seanna bhaintear thuas chomá. Ach rahingíri bhíoch seanna chróige so. Is minic is cínam gágaí mór a gaithe bheith séide. Agus an cúrán bán a gháil nuas a bóthar an san suas, rahingíri. Is gágaí amach. Na agla chain gágaí a dúig, mar sin ó bheginis. Bheoch na dó sé dúntar feag seachtain ní fiad fad a goscailt an éair. Mar bhíon aim se rách ruig. Agus bhíoch mórán ceog leis an so. Bhíoch sé anna ghoracha, chuid is módas gáhananta sa gíre. Saoch fe mar dúirt stocha, saoch cruig, ciúin uigeach a bheith, ach bhí seanna, dean gra seanna chruig, anna chruig sa gíre, anna daine, aber na cnocan san suas. Tá seanna anna gacad, ré suas a gynna chnic. Bhíoch daine me anna éist an san dá suas a tíag ar bhin agus mar sin da, agus a buin fáin, agus roihinne chéireach. Bhí seanna gacad ar a bheith ré suas, agus bhín seáil an únt, ré tárig, agus tá sachan arig, agus abad garsú nóg a bheime, agus bhín treachta anna hapig. Ach bhíoch cuidic a súda bhíoch ábhat a ré suas a gynna chnic. Daine me anna éist as ganna na henne eich rachar ag agus mé cinna cí fád ín ógan na fétach ar suas a gynna chnic. Bhíoch stócha go raibh an saoch habad anna chruig, ach bhíoch go lóla énithe go gcónaí. Ní bhíoch cheagad énithe.
Once a year, the parish priest and his curate made a station visit to the island, particularly for the older people. This is a film shot some years before the final evacuation of the island. The occasion was the annual station mass held on the island, probably the last one. The school has a surviving role of island chapel for the station mass. Mass is read by Father Tom. Father Mihalo Kisan hears confessions outside. A simple breakfast. The island post office. Tomas Crahan's house. Argal of the Shenorach. The decline in the population and the average age of the inhabitants of the island in this film is self-evident. The island musician Sean Chasht, his wife Breed, and their son Garrod. Recollections in tranquility. A farewell to the visiting priest and his party. A day well spent. Time was when Baranunach would have been black with people. The sea wasn't always just a sea journey from the island to Dunhuin. The islanders ploughed the sea like others their land, putting to sea each day during the mackerel season and the lobster season was as normal for them as walking the land for others. This is where their work began. The boats move out from Anchala and around by Gob to the southern side of the island. There was a time when the islanders worked the island waters from seine boats crewed by 8 men with 2 sails. This was in the early part of the 19th century. Thomas Cruhin described the coming of the first Nave Og to the island. 2 drunken islanders brought one home from Dingle to the dismay of their families. During his lifetime, and to the end, the islanders fished from the Nave Og. The population suited such a venture, a crew of 2 or 3, and lobster fishing was particularly effective with a small craft. Each part of the island coast had its own name. Gob, Cwrs y Scanel, Cwrs the Brechain, Cwrs Dwf, Cwrs Canachnic, Lacha Canachnic, Cwrs na Milan, Cwrs y Tjolvain, Pot Chochil, Cwrs Dote, Cwrs Vlaclia, Bael Chapel, and at the end of the island, Cawn Dwf. Clearing Cawn Dwf, a view of the islanders' world, Inish na Bro, and to the far horizon, Tirach with its lighthouse, and to the north, Inish Tuashkert. Inish the Bro, Kernstone Island, is the least accessible of the Blasket Islands. The 1851 census recalls an occupancy of a family of 4 in what was apparently a beehive hut. Lambs were fattened here. The island caves provided the islanders with seals. Past Inish na Bro and Cawn Dwf, through an Balakkail, and towards the landing place at Inishikaline, past an Varkricht, into an Rinchil. The meaning of the name of Inishikaline is now lost to us, but the name occurs in Anglo-Norman deeds as far back as the 13th century. There are early Christian remains on the island. An oratory in plan like that of Gallerus, an early carved cross, and the remains of a monastic enclosure. These remains, like the others on the Blaskets, are probably connected with St. Brendan. The island figures extensively in the written literature of the Blaskets. Thomas Cruhin and Mauricio Sullivan describe visits which they paid there at various intervals. This island was inhabited in more recent times, from the very beginning of the 19th century. The baptism of a Catherine Goheen is recorded for the year 1808. Here at Lugnavilla is Tigna Hinisher, where Muintir Gala lived, and eked out their living as herdsmen and at fishing. They were renowned for their skills as craftsmen. Tom Daly's grandfather Morris was born on the Inish. There's a considerable amount of fairy lore connected with the island. It was on the island also that somebody heard the tune of the fairies' lament, Port na Bukui, the essential and perhaps unique part of the island's musical heritage.
I fokkeles står skedul hatta. Haro, ich so gut. Das dann uns spreche mit durch die da ein Kartin. Sku gudig so nie mit ham har lær. Skolen sorgt, seg at am no sei, ag nie ved der så ag gå hei klær, gart i kurdi. Ys gael sy'n tŵr ffein des o stiachad o'r si. Ni ta'n hyfle mwy ac gael tŵr ffein ac ydw wyli ys o'n ochr gael nach das. Ni dda ffocwyd, sy'n y blaen.
Tiracht, the most westerly of the Blaskets, contains an Irish Lights lighthouse built in 1870. Tiracht is some 3 miles from Countdove Oileán. Inishtuishkert is the most northerly of the Blasket Islands. There are baptisms recorded for this island as far back as 1815. The last was recorded in 1835. The island was inhabited up to the 1850s. Used, like the other islands, by the islanders for bullying, transhumance, and the fattening of stock, including sheep and pigs. It is a sea journey of some 5 miles from the collar on the Great Blasket to the landing place at Loch Namwicke. Sean Fat's Tam used to bring sheep on and off the island, up and down these rocks and cliff. On the 14th of June 1838, John Windle, the Cork antiquarian, and Father Casey, parish priest of Ballyferrita, visited Inishtuishkert. Windle's account is now preserved in the Royal Irish Academy. We found great difficulty in ascending the rocks and the steep, slippery turf above them. The soil is half peat covered with a coarse grass, occasional heath, and abundance of sea pink. A few sheep on a temporary visit from the mainland browsed over this uncompromising pasture. The poor human inhabitants consists of one family of the name of Cain, a husband and wife, and 2 or 3 children. They inhabit in a shallow hollow adjoining an ancient enclosure containing a rude cemetery. Their dwelling is one of the old circular cells, the roof of which is formed by overlaying flags, and the family have formed a small hole in the roof to let out the smoke. Cain, head of his family on this island, was absent on the mainland. His wife wished to entertain the priest on this his first visit during his 19 years incumbency. And she ordered her son to run and kill a couple of rabbits forthwith. Some 10 years later, this same scene was to witness a dreadful occurrence. The island was cut off for about 6 weeks due to bad weather. When the islanders could get into it again, they found a herdsman dead, his body putrefied and partially dismembered by his unfortunate wife who had gone insane.
Agar bedi gane boy kayhantana den ilik çönis lak namıkçım. Gane boy gün turus na gane boy. Hemis was valimis na kıyıcı. İşte oktu gahantan yara reyni tavuk. Ayes filekum işte mahpek yara ravurviydi. Skilmis bu ne hadelle. Enson ogmislen trasn nirat ya daned. Niyati de bu hörsen niyar no gadagemis go barna likki. Vi harna kıyıda harakan vasun so. We was he she's gediniski. Iad lega hísan sanna gannisci. Chwchwystach yn efo sanna dingin tugus fe farhir ydi cora dedi. Agus fiach a verti fe chymw ydi gyr. As wylhi di si dedi yn y cael y chor dedi yn efo. Fi chyr y snapu gen fer a fi chysdig. Agus fi chi chasau i gasdriw o hochtog y dochtog. Rwyf o sgwyd gyda sy'n mach gyda'n dochtog tysig. Fi chyr yn chwtyn diag nes na chael efo gyda gymwys. Agus iad y hwrt sy'r gyda beginis. Lot cian ag yan o'n meginis iad y sgil agus iad y chaha waragi. Agus nodi sy'n ystach gyda'n gyda. Den sy'n lat na bicha'n tasbach trach nhw'n ar na hemis dy wali. Gan pwyn i tyle sy'n gyda bwyd o rawan sy'n eli. Mae'r mechai bran ysgyn sy'n na di licio gochm. Sy'n mae'r fi'n mynd i gobert snoi.
Leaving in his Twishkert, sailing towards the northern face of the Great Blasket, and then east by its cliffed coastline. Manana Gardine, Golín Havan the Carriga, and up high on the side of the cliff, Scart Fierish, where the 16th century Piers Fertair, classical Irish poet and chieftain of his people in Cochraguine, sought refuge when pursued by the English. Clodachan Locher, for her na Gapel, Hwas na Grassan, and Lacca Guch. Thomas Cruhin described this place as the most odious and the least loved by him of all the place names on the Blaskets. Here it was, sometime in the early 19th century, that a whole fleet of fishing canoes was destroyed in an unexpected storm. Thomas says that 21 widows were left to lament their dead on the headland above the Lacagou. This then was the world of the Black. The island's appearance was described by Sean Oileán as wallowing like a whale in the darkening sea surrounded by its 12 young. It was from within this world, from the belly of the whale, that a number of writers in their own language emerged in the final decades of the island's life. This village was cradle to the writers. The island population probably never exceeded 200 people. It was from within this community that the most important of the island writers, Thomas Cruhin, emerged. His writing reflects the ethos of the island during its most remote and what E.M. Foster has described as its Neolithic period. This was the home of Thomas Ronald Cruhin, probably born in 1855, married in 1878, died in 1937. Only his marriage is noted in the official records. In this house, Thomas Cruhin wrote on Tilanach, the island man. He probably began to write it sometime in 1923. On Tilanach is an autobiography which covers the main events in Thomas's life. Thomas's story begins with his recollection of being breastfed by his mother. Is cínle me a bheith vrolach ma bháthar. Ceir bliana vís ar buineach de júil me. Is mé dríidir an chrúscín, dead an oil. Snéan rééis sún ar fága fó fadar na cícha me. Thomas's early life as described by him emerges as a heroic celebration of his youth, the happiest part of his hard life. Like the other islanders, Thomas Cruhin paid a number of visits to Inishikalan. The herdsman and his family were well known for their hospitality. On one occasion, Thomas's uncle Diarmuid and himself paid a visit to the island to hunt rabbits. Thomas was more interested in one of the daughters of the house. Hugger ga lá agus ga íhaun, bit caninig tak gach tran ónagin, árain go flúise go rinna híthe, go míoch sé héna clagastócha, agus collaga hadran sin. Ní stadachan sean úncol gan a bheith glúna bertagin le chéile, gach ihe agus gach uair. For economic reasons and family obligations, Thomas had to turn his back on the young girl from Inishikalan. Island life required a certain rigor and discipline, even in matters of the heart. On February 5th, 1878, Tomás Cruithin married Mairní Caháin, sister of the island king. One song Tomás says he sang at his wedding, Oileán Eile. Machlán conna hí haréir, is emaléin nach í nuchta taun. Mo bhuachalín sév das sa bhréchach mé sealar a glúin. Na neosing ma scéal that is bailach na dien form rún. Gúil ma grab an dam régin, is sa dhéag légil is a bhuirir nach dúch. The narrative after marriage changes in tone. Work, fishing, breadwinning for Tomás's young family, and then a litany of death. First one child, egg hunting. Then two more with whooping cough and measles. Tomás's son Donald died off in Travan in a tragic attempt to save Eileen Nichols, a close friend of Padraig Pearse. Tomás Cruithin pithily wrote, "Well, I had to face this trouble too and go through it. Sha, began them shasav lesh and grocha shalesh agus gwa tríd." Padraig Oileán is a grandson of Tomás Cruithin. Novelist and writer, his books are largely based on the Corcoghine Gaeltacht. His mother Coit was a daughter of Tomás Cruithin. She survived the Travan drowning. Padraig Oileán knew his grandfather Tomás as an old man.
Agus bhí dé leanna héal ar bharge mar a dearfá bhí sé taunta istigan. Is dóchan arf sé ach timpele chúitruthe seacht nóirlan ó mar sin. Ach dref sé dócha crappa hí an níis. Is dócha sé ní bíirdan as san ar bhí sé óg. Bhí sé an lám an chatte an hain. Bhí 6 drín bheg ar a ghuaile. Agus bhí chatta dúsa gcónaí hí fásta beictúdaí. A bháin tí na bh sé gihin ó mar sin bí a bheith sinna gcónaí an hatan an capína min tíad na réfá githe. Ach temmo bhí chatta gcónaí. Bhí sé bné ó hebh chilpebid agus a déanamh bhéid. Dirtaí lumsa gur ra sé anna chrúigir fad na bhí sé óg. Tugann siad cruas na gcruthanach ar seo, na cruithanna gur fad. Bhíidir anna chrúig, anna láid íran na baiad. Agus ní bháin gur íran ina gorpiad ach íran ina naigine chomá. Bhí sé decariad a chuir gol chuir gás. Bhí sé decariad dóir bhain testa. Agus sé decariad a chineamh gomach an chúra Tish abyd dyn oil wash no any marsin. Either anachroig marsin.
With the gradual recognition throughout Europe of the importance of the Celtic languages and their literatures, and with the revival movement in Ireland, the village was to become in time, and for a short but critical time, a virtual mecca for those seeking both the living language and its associated culture. Carl Marstrander, a Norwegian linguistic scholar, came in the summer of 1907 to study Old Irish in Dublin and thereafter to acquire the living language in the Blaskets. He stayed in the king's house and was directed to Tomás Cruithin, who worked with him for 2 or 3 hours a day for 5 months. On Lochlanach, as Marstrander was known, kept few papers from his visit, but this notebook contains some phrases collected. There was also a few other scraps which have been preserved in the University of Oslo, including what may be a sketch of an Moster Thomas Kryhin and a sketch of island scenery with the words Sliev, Grian, Far, and Board. There's a draft letter in Irish dated and addressed from the island. An Blasket, man or Cúiúla diag, Negia diagas shacht. He says in it that the islanders accepted him as one of their own. Bí man éinech leotha mar a bheach duine go féinig. Agus is mar sin is fearr do gine tá tachaigh trialhra a fálam na teanga. When Marstrander returned home, he wrote to Thomas Kryhin asking him to make a collection of the names in Irish of plants, fish, and animals. Brodán, a salmon. Rutha, ray. Belach, conna. Machreel, mackerel. Thomas compiled these with the help of an Irish language teacher who gave writing and reading classes on the island. Thomas never saw Marstrander again, but he spoke with warmth of an Lachlanach until the day of his death. A little more than 2 years after Marstrander had left, another young scholar was to make his way to the Blaskets. This time an Englishman, Robin Flower, an Oxford graduate. He had joined the British Museum at the Manuscripts Department, where he became involved in cataloguing of the museum's extensive collection of manuscripts in the Irish language. Flower came to Dublin in 1910 to attend a series of classes in Old Irish being given by Marstrander. Once the contact had been made, a visit to the Blaskets was inevitable. After a boat journey across the Irish Sea and a train journey through Ireland, the train from Tralee to Dingle took Flower on the final part of his first visit. Flower describes the sea voyage. The boat runs rapidly over the waves, following the pull of the tiny patched sail. Then the lifting prow turns to the island, and in a short while the boat is running by Beginnish, and the high front of the island begins to rise over you. To the right is a long shore of sand, and Thrávón, the white strand. Robin Flower was to stay at the house of Henri, and to meet his future teacher Thomas Kryhin there, amongst the welcoming islanders. When Robin Flower came to the island for the first time in 1910, he was 29. Thomas was then 55. Robin Flower and Thomas Kryhin worked together on the construction of the slipway at Calla Oileán during Flower's first visit to the island. Very soon, Flower's hands were badly blistered working with a pickaxe. They had to be bandaged. Thomas Kryhin wrote a postcard to Flower about his hands. A chara ad manamnach. Bechartam torintich a chur de huirish gvesta. Nar vran sin túshe churish chumon dangen. Nar of the law cuihe fullov. Bevalem kuntas tal wet mashe da hele, kunas maratantu dienov. Will rien en fichora the law force. Mishagat ad vassiga mortsa. Thomas Kryhin. Flower married in 1911, the year following his first visit to the island. His wife, Ida Mary Streeter, was the sister of the dean of his college at Oxford and a painter. Robin Flower brought his young wife to the Blaskets in 1911 for his second visit.
My mother and father were married in 1911 in February, And that summer, he took her to his beloved island. She must have already been expecting our elder sister, who was born that December. And it was an incredibly primitive life, I suppose, compared to what she must have been used to, but she loved it. She became great friends with Coit, the daughter of the king, and she did all her drawing there. These beautiful drawings of the island and the houses and the general views were done there.
In the first couple of years, Flower and Tomás worked together 2 or 3 sessions a day. Flower learning Irish, writing down short anecdotes and other material. Tomás Cruhin teaching the young assistant from the British Museum as he had Marstranda. Gradually, Flower's Irish got to the stage where he began to record some of the wealth of Tomás's vast store of traditional lore. Sometimes they worked outdoors, at other times in Tomás's house, sitting in the kitchen. And so, he sitting on one side of the table, rolling a savory sprig of dillisk round and round in his mouth to lend a salt flavor to his speech, and I diligently writing on the other side, the picture of the island's past grew from day to day under our hands. At times I would stop him as an unfamiliar word or strange twist of phrase struck across my ear, and he would courteously explain it, giving parallels from the local speech or illustrating with a little tale, budded off, as it were, from the larger unit.
I remember Tomás O'Crehan, who had this very characteristic face, this extraordinary jaw, because I suppose he had lost his teeth when he was after all a very old man, and this black hat which he always wore, didn't he? And one didn't, I doubt whether I was ever in his house, because that was where Daddy went to see him, and you know, we were off playing games and things. We didn't actually go and invade his house because they were always working together. They were tremendous close friends. I think he must have been one of his best friends in life. Very, very close. And they loved each other. It was a marvelous friendship. They had so much in common. And I suppose Daddy, through translating his book, knew so much about him and the kind of life he had lived and survived.
Chach sé an rá, bhíoh sé tamad an rá, fáim héin, nó scríóireacht. I sagart Tomás O'Crehan, bhí an tal níos agus bhí dí seo sa teomar gur sé nacht. Agus an son, nó héar a den, nó bhíoh Tomás O'Crehan deachta níos ige, heach sé síos ige. Agus heach sé bahanticht, an tí bhíh séirs. Agus anar cleachta na bheith. Agus sport, agus bhíh anráíir sciachta deirech na garach líle, sciachta sport. Ach fear breáin afar se go bheith súnisach. Sech sé siúil do héananig gnúchas ga chéirad.
Robin Flower was a friend to all the islanders. They versioned an Irish form of his name for him, Blóhín, an endearing pet name, derived from the Irish for flower. He brought his family on holidays. 2 of his daughters went to the island school. Here at Clasach-an-Duna, Blóhín spent a lot of his time on his own, working on the material of his books on the Blasket culture. This was his favorite place. It's a commanding position, a hill fort or promontory fort from prehistoric times. To the east, a view over the whole island. This was his seat over a steep cliff looking down to Carrigalóchar. In 1943, Robin Flower became seriously ill. The burden of his work had tired him. His vast learning and knowledge was gradually erased from his mind. All that remained was the island and its people, his fondest memory.
Such had been the connection of my father's life with the island that when he died, my mother decided that his ashes should be scattered on this island he'd loved so much. And my sister and a great friend of ours who grew up with us took his ashes across. Special permission had to be granted by de Valera, but he, knowing my father's interest and love of Ireland, decided that this should be. And they went to the island, and they went right up onto the top of the dune, and there they scattered his ashes, and there he lies. And I think that's very appropriate, because nowhere was he so relaxed and so happy and so interested as on that island.
Tomás Cruihin maintained a correspondence with Robin Flower between the years 1910 and 1926. These letters provided Tomás Cruihin with an opportunity to develop a style in Irish which was to enable him in due course to become a writer. But it was not Robin Flower who brought the writer into being, but a schools inspector from Killarney. Brian O'Callaghan first came to the island in 1917 to learn Irish, a shadowy figure about whom not a lot is known. This is the only photograph we have of him. Tomás Cruihin writes of Brian O'Callaghan's first visit to the island in 1917. Bean cogamóra chur Brian O'Callaghan chumón Vrank. Is threise mé go raibh sé blian an armesc, agus is a bhlascéad a chaisi an nolig an bliana bhí sé gin. Tar éis fágant a bhríon, bhí sa chur cúntais cín léichaige feadh 5 bliana. An sin raibh sé sásan ó go mreaching mo bheithe féin do, agus cunas mar a churas mo héaldíam. Brian O'Callaghan sent Tomás Cruihin a lot of books. In relation to O'Callaghan's proposal that Tomás should write his autobiography, O'Callaghan sent him 2 books by the Russian writer Maxim Gorky. O'Callaghan says that Gorky showed the way for Tomás, that a poor fisherman could write as well as a lettered person. Untilanach was mostly written in the years 1923 and 1924. Additional material was written the 2 years following. O'Callaghan sent Tomás the sheets of foolscap regularly so that Tomás could continue to write.
Is a géisteach le Brian O'Callaghan a chiní Tomás hin gur méidir gur rodéigin níos fearr ná bialadis ná seanachas ná ní marsin. Dúirt Brian leis cúnsas a scríomhaide a lá a chaise inniuh, lá a chaise máir achas marsin do, céabhfuil leis, cadúirte, cad an chainte biatra, cad an tasféanta sa biatra. Nú freidir le chéile marsin do. Ach, is dócha go bheith thárá go bé sin a chuidir móthra. Agus ná bach éí lecht as riamh más tríhin. Marmach Brian O'Callaghan hacht an bóthar gé.
Try as he might, O'Callaghan could not get a publisher for the Cruihin autobiography. It was eventually published in 1929 by the Stationery Office. O'Callaghan, a very lonely man, went to Europe and died in Split in Yugoslavia in December 1936. The facts surrounding his life are for the moment obscure. Embassy of the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Dear Madam, with reference to your letter of recent date, we have now received from the appropriate Yugoslav authorities the following information regarding Mr. Brian Kelly. He died at 2 p.m. on the 28th of December 1936 in the State Hospital in Split. The diagnosis was poliomyelitis. Tomás Cruihin spent his last years with his only surviving son, Sean. He was also a writer and wrote an important book on the transitional period between the evacuation of the island and the new life on the mainland. Sean's wife, Oileán Eile, over a period of some 30 years, wrote a series of very informative letters on her island life to an eccentric Englishman, George Chambers. Chambers's love of the islands brought him to the Blaskets in 1931. He left an important pictorial record of the island and preserved Eilish's letters. Some of these are now published. The second of the major books from the Blaskets is that of Peg Sayers. In fact, there are two, a twin set. Her autobiography, Peg, and a companion volume, Machnav Shanavna, an old woman's recollections. Unlike Thomas Cruhin, Peg Sayers did not write her books. Her son B. Hall, a poet, writer, and primitive painter, transcribed her memoirs. The facts of Peg's life are known to many because Peg's autobiography has been used in schools for many years. Peg Sayers was born in 1873, not on the island, but in Ballyvicara, in the parish of Duncheen. Her family were not well off. Misfortune attended their footsteps. Peg's mother, Peg Ní Vrosnachán, bore a large number of children. Many died young. Peg survived. Perhaps because she was so young, and in the company of very much older people, she acquired an extraordinary repertoire of folk tales. Peg went into service in Dingle first, and thereafter to a big farm east of Dingle at Knockenvrogeen. After service, Peg had intended to emigrate to America, when her friend Cart Jim Ní Bheoláin could send her the fare. In the end, Court Jim couldn't manage the fare. The Sayers' house couldn't sustain a young woman. Sean, Peg's brother, arranged a match. At 18 years of age, Peg married Padre Yogoheen, Patsy Flint, and she went to live on the island. Her husband's health broke. Of her 10 children, 6 survived, and they all followed one another to America. Her poet son Mihal returned after a short while. His health had failed him, perhaps his courage. Robin Flower knew Peg well and collected a lot of folk tales from her. Big Peg, Peg Woor, is one of the finest speakers on the island. She has so clean and finished a style of speech that you can follow all the nicest articulations of the language on her lips without any effort. She's a natural orator, with so keen a sense of the turn of phrase and the lifting rhythm appropriate to the Irish, that her words could be written down as they leave her lips. And they would have the effect of literature with no savor of the artificiality of composition. Professor Kenneth Jackson, formerly Professor of Celtic Languages and Literature at Edinburgh University, came to the island in the year 1932 to learn Irish and meet Peg Sayers.
Robin Flower said I must get Peg Sayers to be my teacher, and that she had the finest repertoire of folk tales in Corcaguini. He introduced me to her, and I got to know her well. She was a rather tall woman with the most beautiful eyes, violet in colour and triangular in shape. It was easy to see that she had been a beauty when she was young, and in those days was called Peg Wee, blonde Peg, though she was now a grey-haired woman in her 60s. She was a strong character, very unlike the apparently meek, pious, holy woman on the frontispiece photograph in Mary Kennedy's book on her called Peg. She had a tremendous sense of humour and of fun. She was shrewd and could show a sharp tongue when she wanted to. I became devoted to her, almost fell in love with her. I used to call her a fig of Waheen, Peg, little mother, and I think she was fond of me. I learned much of my Irish from her, and this is how I did it. I had never heard a word of spoken Irish, but I knew how to use the International Phonetic Alphabet, and I used to go to her every day and get her to tell me one of her great repertoire of long folk tales. As she recited, I wrote them down by ear in phonetics, though I had no idea at first what they meant. Then I read them back to her, and she corrected any mistakes and told me what it all meant in English, which she spoke fluently and correctly. In that way, I soon acquired a considerable vocabulary and grasp of grammar and syntax, and also an abiding interest in the folk tale as a literary and social phenomenon. I published later about 40 tales from this collection, called Skielte on Muskeard, Stories from the Blasket. I said just now a social phenomenon, and that is what it was. The village storytellers were the cinemas and wireless of the country people of Gaelic Ireland in those days, and they used to gather in the evenings in Peg's house, old people as well as the young, to listen to her stories, which she told with great skill and expression. I remember well Peg sitting by the fire in the dim lamplight, and the room crowded with half-seen faces, grown-ups as well as children, listening to the stories they may often have heard before, but never tired of hearing.
Joseph O'Donnell, Joe Daly of Dooncheen, was a collector for the Irish Folklore Commission. He was born on the same townland as Peg. He first collected stories from Peg's sayers in the 1930s. He noted down more than 300 items of folklore from her.
Minions a bhíán an bhléin. Bine an sort prati, bine the sort prati be gemacht an ursin. Agus bhí bháin corcáin agus scilt amach de mórd. Nar a bhaif sí húhisteach, áultach ná. Agus nishin scialad san conas a gintí sin, nar bhín béleitice, dúrchar sí ceistir má sair sa bhfuiln tú pósta. Níle me dúrse, ná ein dar amarum gemed. Wallet san van san áultach ná, wallet an van bheith pósta go húrtan san as the chóir amach. Sin bhá a dúirt má sairs. Agus cin sí sáspanáil agus chur sí dúirtir a dhéigen agus chur sí pódar, fóg sí lábhaisteach na barlachas fóg sí mac pódar nó sa té agus chur sí sáspanna. Agus scar gur dhachas an chalín ó cholapí bretha cosacé teachta doras isteach le clíhanna tí suas chur sí drám leis a duine guas agus a cholapí cos agus bhí tamás airs is fiachintarte agus an son go habban chiúla sí doras amach ríist agus nar bhí sí mihas raircan san sinní an bhean an chalín a bheith pósta gut dúirt an altam. Chana héim ná dúí sé sin le mar sa Tomás airs, ó níirh ceada gom labharta dúirt sé. Ach tamala dhéasan gaf Tomás tímpach chin slé agus chlí hebh bhóthar sa chán bhí an chalín seo ach nic sé i teachtasteach an lásan agus fór sé í. Ach bhí sí anna bha chun rodí an nuair mar sin. Rodí marheolar, scialta marheolar, páistí, sciúbóchaisteach a lís agus mar sin. Agus bhí nós bheith léice chun brisisteach sa scéal. Ní has nós sé fem bhí ferrán fadó smiciúí agus begadóin ar. Ní bhí nó ein rud cinntice. Bhí an chumasinte nar a hagach ein tocht bróinise. Chóla chur sísan is éidirach féinní nar a bhí sé le heil agus tín sin scéal san go mindom agus nar a chuideachas tugachasteach an tiige agus mastrathe agus bascathe marmh. Luis na deoríchan nuas le. Agus an son bhfuil sí rá bas ar a chéile mar sin. Agus cúmpa sí len sí ríise gan ein rian bróin an dhéasan. Bhla nar bhfuil sí rá bas ar a chéile gur lan sin brón dá haigin agus dá crí. Ach bhí sí anad an paidir go bhaid, cuineó me go dó ar na híanta thugus ann, trisinaise, bhí Íháin bhí peg ina sí chahír. Os cór na tíineach an padrín na láirice, agus bhí cross mhór síle se padrín. Bhí maic an fille bhí sé agus éidir lúinir nóir lár ach bhín chahír mar hantaige, agus bhí áidethir céile Míhall bhí sé sin slí chéana. Bhí dónsan sé duine ach bhí ag féig, agus peg sa chahír. Ach chumar féin seach bhí feril neirlam agus chumar an glúine a bhí stíg de choras an lech úr loch a bhí hísan son agus chuidir beir ar nil na náidir mór agus bhín bord an ard. Ní romar ó chun bordach. Dúr peg a chráin. Gus sé a dísin. Ní bheith níon chráin, ní bhain san atas nó. Ach dúr sí paidirchan san das na maidir. Agus paidirchan das an daine bhí breote. Paidirchan das an daine ar a breote néchar. Paidirchan das an daine gur a pechaíar. Agus dúr dúr sí paidirchan das an daine ar a bheith pechaíar. An son na deire hir, dúr sín tangeal muide, cén ar a se ha timp go lehor sé hochtrán hóna, dúr sín tangeal muide. Son ginn sí fír na cruch sé a gris, agus ginn sí fír na cruch sé a féin, agus ní fiachan suas se miné. Ód gus fi fihantisteach sa fleis. An son ón buin sí tím. Agus isaice go má go rá mé an. Isaice go má go rá mé lech úr híos. Agus úsí déúr me hesa dúrt sé. Agus dyn sí smit a gáile. Ach na giesan a dúrt sé am. Bhí agus mici gína sa clas céan ar ghuiine le dúrt sé. Bhí gráninte. Lí agus smit a gáile, ach nechar ní choiríomh scart a gáile a ghéanamh.
Peg and her son Mihal, Mike Filler, moved to this house on the mainland at Balavichara. Peg's eyesight gradually failed, and she spent her last years in Dingle Hospital, holding court with a stream of visitors and attended by her son Mike. The poet Sean O'Riordan visited Peg regularly with his brother poet Mike Filler. Mike Filler, a dreaming seer who spent his last years alone in the damp Balavichara house, produced a fine collection of contemporary poetry. Previously, he had written a short autobiography. He also took up drawing and painting with the help of the artist Maria Simmons Gooding. Peg died in 1958, and her son in 1974. (1924). Sean Crihan, son of the Islandman, Oileán Eile, Murish O'Sullivan's sister, Mihal O'Gaheen, Peg Sayre's son, and Murish O'Sullivan with the melodeon. They were all writers. Murish O'Sullivan's account of his life begins here at what used to be the Dingle Orphanage. Murish O'Sullivan was born on the 19th of February, 1904, the youngest of 5 children. Murish's mother, Coit Gaheen, died when he was 1 year old. Murish spent the following 6 years at the orphanage. Cnukon Charin, the hill behind the orphanage where Murish and his young companion Michael Dick used to play. The young O'Sullivan was to return to the island about 1911. He records his first sea journey home. We moved down through a great cliff, a rough, narrow little path before us. When I came in sight of the quay, what did I see but 20 black beetles twice as big as a cow? "Oh, Dad," said I, "are those beetles dangerous?" Then I turned my eyes towards the slip, and what did I see but one of the big black beetles walking out towards me. My heart leapt. I caught hold of my aunt's shawl, crying, "Oh, the beetle!" Here is the scene as Murish drew it, as one of a series of illustrations which he did for a school's edition of 20 Years A-Growing. Here was the house of Sean Leash, Murish's father. It's clear from 20 years of growing that Murish enjoyed a special relationship with his grandfather, Dado Ono Sullivan, who was a noted storyteller. The house put great wonder on me. I'd never seen the like of it before. It was small and narrow, with a felt roof. The walls outside bright with lime. A fine glowing fire sending warmth into every corner, and 4 sugan chairs around the hearth. I sat down on one of them. A dog was lying in the cinders. When supper was over, my sister swept the floor and shook sand over it. In another while, the lamp was lit. Murish went to the island school. He seems to have spent a happy youth. Fishing and hunting, visits to Inish na Bro, Inish Tuishkert, and Inish Ikilan. Murish O'Sullivan is remembered by the islanders as being quite handsome and a great player of practical jokes.
Oh, that's sport, Mr. Dominic Canish. I drove the plow there. If the Garachley learn the yeg, Marishana Rahul, Smule Garachlin down in Russian and then I guess again. That Agasson, you shall man a man, Agas Tamil, you may show in allegiance, you cannot be a master to you, never clock. That she more Lenish, Agasson and Russia Garachlella. Him go mad, and I class see bear. He might fix theirs. You're then row with the might fix theirs skedain, which I'm can't. I guess kingdom may give him the fog, no dog. I guess lick sheer the wife could decent to know. I guess a gown tamil, he schlick she's, I guess very shed, poor Hogabe, Hoch, Geranberger, half she counted a Vaikuko. I guess get off my carriage. I guess. Ich schaue auch auf den eigenen gehabt gewohnt. Am nach Puki bei mein Fixers. Ich gehe schon nicht scheiß. An wenn es geht der Puki bei Pig. Oder ich schaue mein Fixers. Der Puki hat ihn gebracht. Agus krieg mein das kostet Tama. Agus khach mit Purrogeles. Anarkliche bei.
In August 1923, George Thompson, a young classical scholar from Cambridge, made his way to the Blaskets to learn Irish. Murish O'Sullivan and he were to become very great friends. Indeed, he became a friend of all the O'Sullivan family. Dado Owen, the grandfather, and Oileán Murish's sister. It was Flower who encouraged George Thompson to come to the island. The island was to have an important effect on his work on Greek literature, particularly in his Homeric studies.
In 1922, I went up to Cambridge as an undergraduate with the intention of offering Irish as my subject for the degree. But there was no provision for Celtic studies. However, I persisted in my intention to study Irish, and by chance I met Arthur Whaley, the Chinese scholar, who was working at the British Museum, and he said to me at once, "You must go and see Robin Flower, my colleague," which I did. And so Robin Flower immediately advised me to go to the Blasket Island. I owe all that to him. I also owe to him many talks we had when we were in the island together. It was he who helped me to understand the culture of the Blasket people, and in particular to understand that all poetry comes from the people. True poetry comes from the people. That was the great lesson which I learned from him.
Immigration was draining the island. The fishing had collapsed, and the young were going to America where a better chance awaited them. It was the beginning of the end. Murish's two sisters and one of his brothers went to America. The other brother went to work in Dingle. That left Murish. George Thompson persuaded Murish not to go to America, but to join An Garda Síochána in Dublin. Murish O'Sullivan became a recruit here at the Garda headquarters in Phoenix Park, Dublin. After training, he was posted to Connemara. Coincidentally, George Thompson was appointed a lecturer in Greek at University College Galway. Murish and he met in Galway every week. Thompson believed that Murish O'Sullivan was a good storyteller, if only he could get Murish to write. When Untilanach by Thomas Cruhin was eventually published in 1929, George Thompson persuaded Murish to take Thomas's book as an exemplar and to write the events of his own life up to the time he joined the Gardaí. Murish began the writing of his manuscript in Connemara in 1929 and continued sending it piece by piece to Thompson until it was complete in 1932.
Lung charig a láir, tá sé fad fír, fiúháin na húla agus na chocolates. Nó sampléile, scéal an taistil go blá lia, an búchad agus an galín ó na scail a bhfuil leis dráilí, agus an hama gur chuid ar mó go corcaig, tá gach facail dá fír. Nó a bhí sé am ná lia, Dinne sé an scéals an gomininic in gailge agus mérala agus dúirt leis gur bíú áid scrí síos bhíoch an bíad faoi ailsiú ar a go méigin. Ag sé fé ach hepéir agus chacha mar óige. Gá bliain na dhé sin tháinig deabhar amáis amach. Agus muris de leig muris sé agus dúirt sé gnína sé iireacht éile bena scrí agus bharas dá gan bé a cuine bhar an léáir an éar ach bhé a scrí leis de réad mar a thugach an spread héigi agus gach ní a thuair féinneara. Tá man na dhé sin buras leidir bhuaig árá gur raibh sé a díanamh de réir má chóirle agus gach ní igi a thuair féinneara fiúháin an chuil ag imeacht thar a chlóis. Sin é mar hasna sé ar an leabhar agus as an amach ní a bhéidir é stop.
Fithe Bliana Fás was published in 1933 with financial support from George Thompson, and its English version was published in the same year. The book in English was to make an impact on the literary world and to be translated into other European languages. Fithe Blian is essentially a celebration of youth on the island. The islanders preferred this to the other books because of its happiness. It's a young man's book of adventure. It strikes a hopeful note. Murish O'Sullivan married Courtney Cahain from Dirartha, Carrow, Connemara in 1934, having just resigned from the Garda service to devote himself fully to writing.
Ach, peis gela fós muid edite hulá go July 19 sa cead. Agus ní ar pin ráte gilumsa a faoin leabhar an éair. Ach gan nó trelum cúpla hall ar fós me gur sé géirí machchas an Gardaí. Agus chuir sé sin tíim an a bhuair. Sam sé can na haamh. Cháte idir san ní mar an éair. Níl bhfuil mu déal na géirí tríoch ba gur mach maidin idir sé sa go isteach. I ddíthú idir sé sa réabh lepacha agus pluidean agus tochtúna clú agus tarachaisteach agus a tarach amach. Ní hagann sélum. Agus ní mála mé agus ní ana de. Tá becha gur mo facar mé idir sé. Tá bhailín aga muidir agus búlin agus hatlan idir agus ben me a stróce ó chéile. Báil muis na dhéana idir ná beditáil. Mar níor sé hénan an tarabhías a hín a tarach le chéile. Ach sin scíáil. Ach ar samis leis cead mai óhar samis ú a géirí amach. Tá mé hé sé aonsin de dúirte nach dain sélam. Ach cead mai ar ggóil síl ó samis. Tá mu tí blian ó samis gus de mí siú le chéile. Agus ní sa tú géirí amach. Núair le siúr a dúras dúirte agus cadúte le ní mai leis an éair a dúirte. Scamalum. Shach has clacklish. Maar dan mis fi suaswa der fi gaba o dagen sentjeni. Dat jene mijn hier bis edra hoorle. Anne garde goes en der gelish.
The initial success which attended Fihibli and a Force was not enough to sustain Murish in his literary voyage. The companion volume to Fihibli and a Farce, Fihibli and Fuiv Law, 20 Years of Blossoming, was rejected by the publishers. Murish O'Sullivan rejoined the Gardaí in 1950. He drowned shortly after this while swimming at Salt Hill near Galway in June 1950. What is important about the Blasket writers is that they have left an account of life on the island written from the inside. A small but important library is their legacy. Theirs was a unique contribution to literature. It might never have been written, but for the fortunate contact which their culture made with a number of sensitive scholars from Norway and England.
These books had great acclaim, both in Ireland and widely outside once they had been translated. Now, perhaps one might wonder how two fishermen in a remote, unheard of, far western Ireland could produce such remarkable work. The answer is that O'Criffin represented an age-old way of life of great intrinsic interest, which was already passing away in his own lifetime, and that he himself had a most unusual faculty of making this life vividly present to the reader. It is a fascinating and important work by any standards. O'Sullivan was a generation younger. He followed O'Criffin in the general approach, but his picture of Blasket life is seen through the eyes of a much younger man, for whom considerable changes had already happened, and his eyes looked outwards as well as inwards. These books are both important, not only for their own fascination, but also for their value as social documents describing a vanished lifestyle which had scarcely ever been written about before.
I have also been asked sometimes, which do I consider to be the best of the Blasket books? I prefer to look at them from a different point of view. If we put them all together, side by side, we have a little library of 15 or 16 volumes, the Blasket Library. And this is something unique. There's no such collection in any other language. A collective portrait of a pre-capitalist village community made by the villagers themselves at the very moment of transition from speech to writing. Some of these books have been translated into English, and in that form they have circulated widely all over the world. Why have they attracted so much interest? What has happened to the Blasket Islands has happened, or is happening, to hundreds of other small communities of the same type in all parts of the world. The old village communities are being dissolved and merged into larger urban units, and their cultural values destroyed. The economic level of life in the Blasket was very low, but the cultural level was high. Economic growth does not necessarily bring with it an improvement in cultural life. Blasket books with the Homeric poems. This may seem very far-fetched, but I am convinced from my own experience in the Blasket that the analogy is genuine. It's in the Blasket that I found the key to the Homeric question, so called. What is the Homeric question? The question is when, how, and by whom the Homeric poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, were composed. If such a question is misconceived, we might as well ask when, how, and by whom pigs' stories were composed. They weren't composed in our sense of the term. The Homeric poems were a mass of oral tradition, inherited by a highly cultivated guild of minstrels, dating from very early times and transmitted by oral tradition. And this craft was so well organized that it survived into the period of writing, when so that the distinctive features of oral poetry were carried over into writing. Well, this was a special combination of historical circumstances that made this possible. Similarly, in the Blasket, being so remote and inaccessible, the language and its traditions survived there exceptionally long. And for the same reason, scholars were attracted there who were interested in acquiring the language in its purest form, so that in return for learning the language from the islanders, the visiting scholars were able to convince them that theirs was an ancient civilization which had survived intact for centuries.
The literary success of the island library was not enough, however, to save the island. It was finally evacuated in November 1953. The population that survived was unable to support itself. Here at the National School at Doongheen, looking out towards the island's traditions and lore are passed on to younger generations, many of them grandchildren and great-grandchildren of the island community. This school almost died in the early 1970s, but a determined stand by the local community saved it.
Ar blasgiad ha trágan agus ha bád at sun agus tá sé tú bóisteach.
Tomás Cruhin died in 1937. His death is not officially recorded by the state. The state did, however, issue a commemorative stamp in his honor, and a headstone was unveiled over his grave in the little churchyard at Ballintample, Doongheen. When Tomás Cruhin died, the islanders would have brought his remains down Boreen the Morrow at the bottom of the village, as they had brought countless others over the years since the island was first inhabited. To him, the last words. Sgrís go mina chrín a landar gúrsaí dan go macíine a bála iginara. Agus agus iirecht bheon an líine bhí hímpel a chur síos, chun go meach a dúirisk an arníag. Maar na big arle hédi rísán. Began blascaid lag an aine den drome tal luite gum sa laursa. Na aine me cuinige arim.